Behold, Enma, the sword that slices through the deepest pits of hell, and Ame No Habakiri, the sword that splits the heavens in twain. Alright, so here's the deal. I already made a video about Enma. We all love Enma. Enma's a pretty sleek sword. I bet you would like to have an Enma for yourself. I'll put a link to where I bought this one if it's still available. I just bought it on Amazon, but anyway, yeah. So, Enma, pretty awesome sword. Zoro's got it right now. He's rocking it, using it quite a bit during the invasion of Onigashima. But what about its twin sword, the other blade wielded by Oden Kozuki, the mighty Kaido Slayer? Well, okay, he didn't exactly slay Kaido, but it was apparent maybe in a one-on-one fight without any trickery or an old woman turning into his son. Maybe, yeah, Oden would have been able to slay Kaido. But the Kaido Scarer, which is still a pretty big accolade in the One Piece world. What about the other sword, though? Ame No Habakiri, the Heaven Snake Slayer. Okay, the Snake Slayer of Heaven, I should say. Okay, so here's the deal. Originally, I was going to wait a little while to talk about this one. A lot of stuff to talk about Enma, and so I thought about, alright, well, we don't know about Ame No Habakiri yet, or if it has any special properties. You know, like, Enma has that weird trait of, like, sucking the Haki out of whoever wields it, so only, like, right now all we know is, like, Oden and Zoro are able to wield the damn thing. So, I don't really know. Ame No Habakiri might have a similar ability or something else special about it, so I thought I would wait to see. And it's still probably going to play a role in this arc. It's just I realized, like, if it does play a role, it's probably not going to be until the very, very end of this. You know, it's probably going to be a while, you know, because this is the sword that was originally supposed to be left to Momo from Oden. Enma was left to Hiyori, and then Hiyori passed it on to Zoro. And Tenguyama Hitetsu, who was actually the swordsmith that created Ame No Habakiri, was going to pass this on to Momo, but he decided, you know, he's still really young, and he's like, I'm not quite ready for it yet. So he asked Tenguyama to just hold on to it for now. Now, just because this is the Totsuka blade of lore that the storm god Susanoo of Japanese mythology used to slice down the Yamato no Orochi, this is probably, if there's gonna be a sword, like, look, if Orochi's gonna die in this arc, which I think it's a pretty damn good bet that that's going to happen, this has to be the sword to do it, you know, because it's literally in the myth that it does it. I've already told the story before. I did a video where I've explained the whole myth of Susanoo wandering the earth and eventually slaying the Yamato no Orochi, so if you guys want to get just really caught up on the myth, here's a quick abridged version. Hey, howdy there, old-timer. How you doing? I'm the storm god Susanoo. I'm kind of wandering around the earth right now. I got kicked out of my home because my sister got upset. I ruined her rice paddy field, whatever. She's crazy. Anyway, I heard there's some trouble around this neck of the woods. What's going on? Oh, please, Mr. Storm God Susanoo-sama, you gotta help me. This giant snake is coming down from the mountains and it already ate 7 of my daughters. 7! I only got 1 left. It talks like Denzel Crocker from the Fairly Odd Parents. You gotta help me. Ah, yeah, that's probably Yamato no Orochi. Tell you what, I got my Totsuka blade here. I could slay him for you, but in exchange, I want to marry your daughter. Well, I guess that's fair enough, I suppose. Alright then, copacetic. I'm gonna need some hammer, nails, some wood, about 8 giant jugs, and a shitload of sake. If you can make that happen, everything will be cool. Oh, alright, well, you want me to go get that stuff, or, Yeah, I mean, I've kind of walked all day, and, I mean, I'm the one doing you a favor, so I'm just saying. Ah, alright, I mean, I'm just saying, you're the storm god, and I'm a damn 87-year-old geriatric with a bad hip, but yeah, I'll get right on that. You're freaking storm god, Susanoo, damn. Yep, that's how it went. Then the Yamato no Orochi came down, dunked all of its heads in the giant jugs of sake, got wicked toasted, and then, you know, Susanoo just took it away from there, okay? So, yeah, this blade's gonna be, you know, prevalent, I'm sure, later on in the final parts of this arc, but, you know, Enma's gonna be probably with Zoro until the end of the manga. Ame no Habakiri is probably not going to be. I doubt Zoro's gonna get both of these swords by the end of the arc. I mean, it's possible the Sandai might get destroyed, or he might trade that one out because the Sandai Kitetsu is a Wano grade sword. We were introduced to the Nidai Kitetsu in this arc, so if anything, it's possible that he might upgrade Sandai for Nidai, but this is Momo's sword, and this is one of the national treasures of, you know, the country of Wano, you know, and Hiyori, you know, this one is as well, but Hiyori gave this to Zoro and everything, and I'm sure after the events of the arc are over, the Straw Hats are going to be lauded as heroes and everything, and they'll let Zoro keep Enma. Shusui's a little bit different, because Shusui, it's a national treasure too, too, but that's like their most precious national treasure of the sword god Ryuma that was actually previously stolen from their country. So I could see Zoro leaving Shusui, either keeping Wano, Enma, and Sandai when they leave Wano, or upgrading Sandai for Nidai. But Ame is gonna stay in the country, okay? So I'm just gonna talk about it now, alright. So as I stated, it was made by Tenguyama Hitetsu. Something interesting to point out is Hitetsu is a descendant of Kitetsu, who made all those cursed swords, okay? However, Ame No Habakiri is never been stated to be a cursed blade, so that shows right there that even just a swordsmith that is known for making cursed blades can make blades that are not cursed. We still don't know the whole reason for that exactly. We don't exactly know the process of what it means when you create a cursed blade. The original Kitetsu, the one, Tenguyama's ancestor that made the Shodai, he might have been this really messed up, maybe mentally disturbed individual, and, maybe used, like, blood when he, like, smelted the sword or something like that, like it took the blood of the innocents and put it in the blade or something of that nature, and maybe he was like crazy and that's what got, infused in the blade. But Tenguyama Hitetsu, who made the Sandai, he seems to be relatively, have all of his marbles. He's an older dude. He goes around, I guess that's not his real face. I guess he's just wearing the Tengu mask with the giant nose. So that's a little bit weird. Maybe his face is really messed up or contorted or something like that. But he seems to be all there. He seems to be a relatively nice guy. So I'm wondering exactly what it means to make a cursed sword. Like, maybe the sword, like the instructions were passed down to Kitetsu, and then a descendant that made the Nidai, and then eventually Tenguyama, like, here are the hollowed instructions for making the cursed Kitetsu blades. And there's like a certain like thing you have to do involved in the creation of a sword, right? But in any case, yeah, he made the Sandai Kitetsu, which is cursed, and the Ame no Habakiri, which he stated to be like his masterpiece. And yeah, it was perfectly fine. It was an okay sword because Oden wielded it and everything like that. Also to keep in mind that since these are twin swords, you would think they were made by the same person, but they were not. Enma was made by Kozaburo Shimosuke, and I did a whole video on him. We recently found out some stuff about him, went to the, East Blue and founded the Shimosuke village and has connections to Zoro. Zoro might have even actually met Kozaburo. He might still be alive in the context of the story. I'm assuming Tenguyama and Kozaburo are about the same age. Tenguyama's a pretty old dude, maybe in like his 70s, 80s, something like that, and Kozaburo's probably around the same age, and they worked together on this project to make these dual swords for Oden specifically, because, Oden, when he was born, he was, like, oh my god, this kid is like Heracles, pretty much. He's throwing wet nurses across the room, lifting up boulders, killing grizzly bears at like the age of 4, So it's very possible that they heard the legend of Oden, and Kozaburo and Tenguyama got together before Kozaburo left the country, and one of the last things that Kozaburo did while in Wano was create Enma, and then, they created Ame no Habakiri together, because the swords look so similar. I mean, I guess it's possible that, like, Kozaburo could have made Enma first, and then Tenguyama could have just seen his, like, work and just decided to make a twin sword based on it, but considering they're so similar, and Oden uses both of them together, he got them at, like, the same time, I'm assuming they were built, they were forged at the same time, alright, something like that. Okay, so we know Enma is a sword that sucks out your Haki forcibly, making it very, very difficult to wield. I'm wondering what would happen if someone that did not know Armament Haki or Ryuo, what would happen to them if they tried picking up, if it would just, like, kill them outright, or if it's, like, you have to know how to use Haki, at least in order to even pick it up, but even then it's really difficult to use. Now, Zoro kind of has a handle on that right now. He's been using Enma, and just against the riffraff of the Beast Pirate crew so far to slice them down, so it doesn't seem like he's uncomfortable wielding it. I thought for a while Zoro was going to keep Enma sheathed until, like, he was going up against a Calamity or Kaido himself, and, like, then he was going to bust it out because it's so tricky to use. But no, he's been using Enma, a few times so far during Onigashima. He seems to be perfectly fine with it. I'm thinking, though, after Zoro maybe gets injured a little bit and the fighting wears on and he gets a little exhausted, might be more difficult to control his Haki, and at that point might be more difficult to wield Enma in the process, because at the end of the day, he's only been training with this thing for maybe like a week, or I think even less than that. He doesn't have a lot of time to really back behind the sword, right? But, yeah, so that's Enma. So I was thinking, alright, since there's this whole yin-yang duality, hell, heaven deal going on with these swords, I think it's pretty fair to assume that maybe since Enma sucks out your Haki, Ame no Habakiri kind of does the exact opposite. One idea I had was, like, give Haki to other people,
but that's kind of tricky. So instead I thought, okay, instead of going that route with it, what about this sword augmenting your Haki? Alright, so if you have relatively weak Ryuo or armament Haki, properly trained with it, Ame No Habakiri amplifies that Haki, times 10 or something like that. So someone like Tashigi during Punk Hazard, remember, Smoker told her, like, hey, your Haki's not good enough to deal with law, so she knew a little bit, but she wasn't that skilled with it. Maybe if Tashigi was wielding Ame No Habakiri, which she would be fangirling out, like, oh my god, Ame No Habakiri, the Oswazamono, great sword, this is incredible. Maybe if it's a sword that augments your Haki, it takes it times 10, and it's like, oh, okay, this sword really helps me out here. I also threw that out there because if it's Momo's sword and Momo is going to wield it against Orochi, if Momo is going to be the one to put an end to this nightmare once and for all, has to be with this sword, and Momo's a little kid, so the ideas have been thrown out there. Maybe Shinobu could use her mature fruit to age up Momo to like age 28, so he'll be a proper, adult and he can wield this blade. But maybe another way altogether is it's not going to be Momo that's going to be the factor here to amplify his power, not him getting older through some devil fruit or something. No, it's going to be the sword itself that's going to amplify. We only saw these swords being used, well, we saw Enma a few times with Zoro, and cutting the cliff and stuff, but the only time we actually got to see Ame no Habakiri in action is when Oden was using it. And the thing about that, though, I have to say, is that Oden already was pretty much good and amazing at everything. He was good at slicing, he was good at drinking, he was good at eating, and he was good at dancing in the nude. My goodness gracious, I have never seen a man dance in the nude like I've seen Oden dance in the nude. Can't wait till that gets animated. Oh yeah. But my point is, he's used these swords when he fought against Kaido and his army, used these blades when he was on Whitebeard and Roger's crew. He clashed with Whitebeard using these blades. Oden never really mentioned Enma being difficult. There was never a scene during Oden's flashback where, like, Enma was drawing out Oden's Haki and just, like he had to master it, because he'd already mastered it. We kind of cut to a scene where Oden is already 18 years old at the start of that flashback, and it seemed like at age 18, Oden already had a handle on these blades. So my point is if Ame no Habakiri had some sort of special ability, just because we didn't get to see that shown or mentioned during Oden's flashback doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't exist. It just means that Oden was already such a Chad and he was so badass, then, he was already strong enough. It doesn't even matter if this sword drains your Haki or if this sword amplifies your Haki. Doesn't matter either way. Oden was amazing regardless, okay? Even, like, Oden honestly could have just disregarded these two swords and picked up two random scrappy rusty blades that are unranked. Still probably could have managed to kick ass with just that stuff. You know what I mean? So, Enma is the very first blade in this story that has been shown to have, like, a unique special trait. Yeah, we get the cursed swords that are apparently really dangerous to use, and they kind of give off their own aura, but no, that was something that was just kind of like, oh, it's cursed, okay? Enma was something, no, this has a direct special ability ingrained into it. This thing sucks you dry, alright? So that's a little weird, and I'm saying, like, if this is the first blade in the story that's been shown to do something like that, like to have a special ability in and of itself, then I think it stands to reason this thing also probably has a special ability. Alright, now how exactly is this going to be utilized? I have no idea, because right now Momo is being held captive by Kanjuro, and Tenguyama Hitetsu is still on the mainland with Ame no Habakiri. Honestly, I would like to see that dude get involved in this battle. He's an old swordsmith, he was raised in Wano, he's the descendant of Katetsu, the creator of the Shodai and Nidai Katetsus. He knows Kozaburo. He himself, Tenguyama, he's got that other world-renowned sword with, like, the leaf guard that we didn't really know about. So, man, I was thinking maybe, like, it'd be cool for, like, Nekomamushi to arrive directly at Onigashima, but maybe Nekomamushi might arrive at the mainland of Wano first, and might meet up with Tenguyama. And then Tenguyama decides to join up with Neko and whoever else he brings, maybe Izo or whatever, and then they decide to go to Onigashima, and Tenguyama brings Ame no Habakiri with him. Alright, because I feel like it would be kind of, I don't think this sword is just going to stay in Tenguyama's hut. And then at the end of the arc, when Kaido and Orochi are defeated, we have the moment where Momo ascends the throne, he's going to be the new emperor, the new shogun, or whatever, the leader of the country, and then, Tenguyama properly present, this is Ame no Habakiri, Master Momonosuke. Thank you, Tenguyama. I will wield it like my father did. and then that's it. You know, like, that would be cool to see that as well, but this sword needs to have some action there, right? So yeah, maybe Tekking101 will take the sword, bring it to Onigashima, and then, you know, we have the whole, I have no idea what circumstances could lead to this, but it eventually we get to a point where Orochi is crying in a corner. I don't know how we're gonna get to that point, but eventually we're gonna get to a point where Orochi is all battered and he runs away because all of his, like, the Mimawari Gumi are defeated, the Oniwabanshu are defeated, Kaido falls, Big Mom's gone, all the calamities are dead, and then Orochi's like, oh no, I'm all alone now, and he starts running, oh, I'm sorry, and then he's like in a corner, like, please don't hurt me, and then you have the moment where maybe Zoro's there, Hiyori's there, freaking Kinemon and the Scabbards could be there. Like I've said before, there are so many people that deserve to get the killing blow. Barry is gonna be there, you know, and Orochi's like, oh, please don't do it, and then Momo walks forward and he's like, everybody, I know you all have your beefs with this guy, but no. He killed my father. He's the one that really did it at the end of the day. I have to be the one to finish this. Tekking101, give me my father's sword. That would actually be, you know what? We've built this up. I mean, that's been something that's been foreshadowed. I mean, like, Momo starting off as this sniveling, crying child, you know, but then slowly throughout the course of this arc realizing, like, everybody, like, looks up to him and stuff. And there's always this debate whether or not he's truly going to be the shogun at the end of this story, whether or not he's going to decide to abdicate and travel like his father did. Like, I want to go out to the sea like my father did. Or at the very least, they're going to open up Wano. But Momo just be like, yeah, open up Wano, but I also want to travel. I don't want to stay tied down to this place. And maybe Hiyori will become the new emperor or the new shogun or something like that. That's the new title there. We're talking about the Edo period of Japan, so it would be a shogun that really has all the power. Unless, you know, the Meiji Restoration happened after the Edo period. Wano is based on the Edo period because of the isolationism, so who knows? Maybe at the end of this arc, it'll be like, okay, we're not going to have a shogun, we're going to have the emperor, because that's what actually happened historically. Crazy. But anyway, yeah, like, it's been set up that Momo kind of has to get to a point where he has to man up during this battle, you know, and he even, like, when Kanjuro, you know, took him away, he was like, don't worry about me, guys, I got this, and he realized, like, okay, I'm being kidnapped, you know, I really am scared and terrified, and I want to cry, but, you know, all these people came out, all these samurai are fighting, basically to put me on the throne, so I have to show them I'm worthy of this, right? I know I'm only 8 years old, but I gotta do this. So it might get kind of serious, but it might get to that moment where Momonosuke realizes, like, the battle is over. All that's left is to take Orochi's head. There's a lot of people that want to, but I have to be the one to do it. Another Yamato no Orochi slayed by a Totsuka sword. Yes, by the way, the Totsuka blades, in case you're curious, it's not just like this is the only one. In Japanese mythology, the Totsuka blades, the Totsuka no Tsurugi, they're kind of like the staple swords of, like, every god in the Japanese, you know, pantheon, Japanese mythology. Which, by the way, there's a lot of gods in Japanese myth. There's like 8 million. I'm not exaggerating. There's literally like over 8 million. There's like a god for every little aspect of nature. Pretty sure there's probably a god for, like, the morning dew in Japanese. Like, that's like the whole point. Like, they love nature, so that's like there's a god for, like, literally everything. But no, yeah, the Totsuka blades were used a bunch of times beyond just Susanoo using it to slay Yamato no Orochi. There was one that was gifted to, I think Susanoo gifted it to Amaterasu, his sister, or Amaterasu gifted it to Susanoo, and they broke it up into 3 pieces, creating 3 different deities just from that. There was another one that was used by, I think, Izanagi. Izanagi and Izanami are the creator deities of Japan, of the actual islands of Japan. They created them. And there was one scene where Izanami has a child, like a fire deity, and then during childbirth, Izanami dies. And then Izanagi is so, like, pissed off, he takes a Totsuka blade and, he's like, I will slay our child that you were, you birthed, but then you died. It's the child's fault! That actually happens a lot in mythology, not just Japanese. Somebody gives birth to a child and then dies during childbirth, and like, well, the child was born and then the mother died, so therefore it's the child's fault! Like, that happens a lot. But anyway, yeah, Totsuka blades pop up quite a bit. Totsuka, the whole idea of what a Totsuka blade even is, it's a 10 palms breadth or 10 hands breadth sword. So a blade that's the length of, like, 10 palms. So, like, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is not accurate at all. 7, 8. This is only like 8 or 9. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, this is only a 7.5 palms breadth sword at best, okay? Also, one other thing to mention is, yeah, I don't believe it actually has the flame pattern, like the bloody flame pattern like this in the manga. It's just that they use the exact same blade when creating Enma. So this makes sense for Enma, the blade that is named after the Guardian, like the Judge of Hell, and that could slice through the furthest depths of hell itself. But for the one that's based on heaven, doesn't really make sense, but they just use the same blade for each one. But it still looks cool. I mean, I like the black and red, but I also like the white and red. That works out pretty cool. Yeah, cool colors. All right. So, yeah, that's the Ame no Habakiri, the Heaven Snake Slayer sword. And, you know, let me know below if you think it's going to pop up during the story at all, if we're going to actually get it, and what special traits it could have. You know, I was going to once again talk about, like, you know, how Enma steals it, so maybe Ame no Habakiri could either amplify it or improve its development in you or lend it to other people, but I'm not even really sure how that would work. You know, maybe if somebody gets stabbed with Ame no Habakiri, and if you train with it, it doesn't just happen on default, but if you train with it, you could stab someone with this sword and lend them your Haki. That could also be something that's possible, but I like the idea of the amplification, the aiding in your Ryuo, rather than draining it from you, something of that nature. Then again, it was made by Hitetsu, who made a cursed sword, so it could also, this thing could be cursed too. I mean, you know, just because it is based in the idea of heaven doesn't mean it can't have some messed up ability to it. You ever see Hellsing? Yeah, the thorn that, you know, Alexander Anderson stabbed. Yeah, that was the power of God right there. See what that did, right? Okay. But anyway, yeah. Kind of a short video, but, you know, don't know much about the blade yet, so I just wanted to spotlight it here today. And everybody loves a good sword video. You know what I mean, Barry? Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking101 signing out.